Dr. K. Parinivelu, Professor at the Center for Environmental Studies and Director of Center for Climate Change and Disaster Management, Anna University, Chennai. He obtained his PhD degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai. He worked as project officer for a brief period at IIT Madras and moved on to the Center for Environmental Studies, Anna University in 1992. He was a visiting professor at Chungam National University, South Korea during 2007. He has been teaching courses on environmental chemistry, environmental pollution control, and instrumental methods of analysis since last 27 years. He has guided 75 students for ME and MSc, 4 MPhil, 2 MS, and 15 PhDs. He has published 135 papers in journals and 90 in conference and symposiums. He has received several awards in national and international levels.
Welcome to the series of lectures on environmental chemistry. We are discussing the chemistry of aquatic system. In the previous class, we discussed about complex formation ability of metal ions in aquatic system. I have given you general concept regarding complex formation, how the elements in the aquatic system are grouped into type A, type B and borderline, and how they form complex, that we discussed. To continue on this, how this metal ion form complex with humic substances, that is one of the naturally occurring material derived from vegetation. Ultimately, the vegetation matter, that is leaves and wood, decomposition lead to the formation of material that is normally known as humic substances. And usually these substances are resistant to degradation, and they found as a deposit in soil, marsh sediments, and any location where large quantities of vegetation have decayed. That leads to the formation of this humic substances with the time. And they are generally classified on the basis of solubility. If a humic substance could be extracted with a strong base, and then the resulting solution suppose be acidified, the precipitated material is called humic acid. That means humic acids will be soluble in a base material, and then later on if we acidify with the acid solution, it will be thrown out as an insoluble material. These type of material derived from this natural things is normally known as humic acid. Again, this is not a single compound, it is a mixture of compounds. And after this test, the organic material which is left in the acidified solution is usually called fulvic acid, and the non-extractable residue is called humin. So, originally we can the humic material we can classify into 3 types: humin, that is non-extractable residue both in acid and alkali material, nothing will happen, whereas humic acids are soluble in alkali and then precipitated on acidification, that is called humic acid, and the organic material which is left in the acidified solution is usually called fulvic acid after this neutralization. So, acid base reaction neutralization is very helpful in distinguishing the 3 fractions of humic matters, namely humin, fulvic acid and humic acid. All these compounds usually contains different functional group, commonly organic carboxylic acids containing COOH, and then aromatic amino groups is possible, phenoxide OH group is possible, and organophosphate group also possible. So, all these things is very useful in complex formation with the most of the metal ions like calcium, magnesium, iron, manganese, copper, zinc, cobalt, nickel, strontium, as well as toxic elements normally like cadmium, barium, etc., which are all present in natural water, and this is also very important for biological system, because some of these things are biologically relevant also. So, these humic matter are one of the very important complexing agent found in naturally. The properties of water have been mainly affected by the humic substances, that is both soluble and insoluble, because of their acid base reaction as well as adsorbity and complexing properties. So, this is very important. We can see humic substances, they behave differently in acid and base medium. Certain substances, as we discussed, are soluble in acid, certain things in base. That is also, plus they have adsorptive power also. Certain metal ions may be adsorbed onto this humic matter as such, and then complex formation. In the soluble fulvic acid is having an effect of properties of water, while the insoluble humin and humic substances are able to alter water quality by involving exchange of cations, organic materials, etc., with the water. So, all these things are very important in determining the mobility of this metal ions in aquatic system. The fulvic acid is having a carbon skeleton with a high degree of aromatic character and large percentage of functional group having oxygen is possible. Also, these fulvic acid have protein like materials and a carbohydrate fraction. All these fractions can readily get hydrolyzed from aromatic nucleus, which is able to withstand chemical and biochemical attack. So, this is one of the speciality of this fulvic acid, and as I mentioned before, this is not a single compound, it is a group of compounds, comes under a category of what is called macromolecule, and these all this functional group present like protein, aromatic, oxygen containing compounds, everything is present, and they withstand chemical and biochemical attack. So, these mixture of compounds, namely the three fraction humin, humic acid, fulvic acid, are not applicable to a single compound, but a wide range of compounds. Is generally humic substances constitute the high molecular weight polyelectrolyte macromolecule, whose molecular weight varies again, range from a few hundred for fulvic acid to tens of thousands to humic acid and humin fractions. So, the molecular weight of this macromolecule comes under the category of humic varies widely. Humic substances are able to chelate metal ions through a carboxylic and a phenolic and hydroxyl group, as I told you before. So, these humic substances have this carboxyl, that is COH group through oxygen as a ligand, and phenolic and hydroxyl again oxygen as a ligand. So, all these things help in formation of metal ion compounds in aquatic system. And insoluble humic substances such as humin and humic acid are able to exchange cations with water and are having capacity to accumulate large amount of metal ions due to this exchange cation exchange property of this metal ion. Just if we consider fulvic acid is having a molecular weight of 666. This is a rough weight with a chemical formula C20 H15 COH 16 times OH5 and CO twice. Okay. The structure as shown here, the chemical structure is again it is not representing a single compound, one of the thing, but in the point to be noted here is see this number of COH group and OH. These COH and OH group actually helps in binding complex with the metal ions like calcium, magnesium, all these things what is naturally present in the aquatic system. So, it contains the following functional group through which it is able to form complexes with metal ions in solution. For example, phenolic hydroxide group if they are present with this here, this is with carboxylic acid group and this is with carboxylic group alone. If a single carboxylic acid again it will form metal, if a divalent metal is there and two carboxylic groups may join, loses two molecules of H plus, 2 H plus and forms metal, and this is phenolic and hydroxylic acid group. So, fulvic acid through this COH and OH functional group they form metal complex in aquatic environment. The other series of compounds which is very much environmentally relevant is organometallic compounds. As I told you in the beginning of this lecture on complex formation, type B metal form organometallic compounds, and this is one of the very specialty of the type B metal ion. Of all the metals, tin has the greatest number of organic metallic compounds, which is also finds a lot of commercial use. Okay. Tin compounds are many, and I will show you some of the compounds in the next slide. In addition to the synthetic organo-tin compounds, methylated tin species can be produced biologically and in the environment. This is one of the very important reactions, not only for tin, other compounds like mercury, arsenic, all these compounds also can be methylated in the suitable biological environment. So, tin has a maximum number of organometallic compounds. Some compounds of organo-tin compounds are shown here, that is tetrabutyl tin. There are 4 butyl molecule may be attached to the central tin molecule, and similarly dimethyl tin, 2 methyl groups are attached to tin, and the rest of the 2 are dichloride, one chloride and another one is here. And also there is a possibility of aromatic compounds also may be attached to the tin. As shown here, this is a compound and the R structure is this one, okay, that is a aromatic compound. The compound is bis tris 2 methyl 2 phenyl propyl tin oxide. This is the oxide bound. There are 2 tin molecules attached to the tin metal, whereas the tin the 3 other R group, that is this aromatic compound, and this is used as a kind of insecticide, that is a herbicide to kill the some kind of unwanted species. It is a insecticide. Another organic metallic compounds which is very environmentally relevant. It was a problem in Japan. The Minamoto incident is because of this reaction. We all of us know Japan being Minamoto, a place where there was a chloroalkali industry. Earlier time, the industry normally uses mercury as an anode. So, they take seawater, they do electrolysis, and mercury is used as an anode here, will undergo oxidation, goes into seawater, and the mercury in chloride medium seawater, it forms a dichloromercury or tetrachloromercurate, whatever it is, under favorable conditions, that is methylcobalamin is present in the seawater. Usually this is a case in the bottom part of any water bodies, where the methyl organisms will be more, may be attached to sediment or something, and this methylcobalamin is present. Usually mercury, because of the organometallic compound formation, mercury is also type B metal. So, it interact with this mercury and forms monomethyl mercury chloride. This is a chemical species responsible for bioconcentration in fish. Ultimately, the fish is enriched with this toxic mercury of compound, easily transported across a cell and gets accumulated in the fish, and people ate those fish were killed in Japan, and this is a problem noticed in Japan. So, this incident is normally referred one of the well known environmental episode in environmental chemistry or environmental disaster, this reaction. So, the unexpected high concentration of mercury found in water and in fish tissues result from the formation of soluble monomethyl mercury ion, that is this species, and volatile dimethyl mercury. Not only the monomethyl, there is a possibility of dimethyl mercury, which is volatile, usually formed by anaerobic bacteria in sediment, and the bottom part, that is very important. Normally this is not possible in the upper part of the aquatic system. Aerobic condition will be there, free dissolved oxygen, so reduction is difficult, but whereas the same reaction is possible in the bottom part of the sediment, and this is responsible for Minamoto incident. So, mercury from these compounds becomes concentrated in fish lipid, that is a lipid compound, the monomethyl mercury, dimethyl mercury, etc., and concentrated, bioconcentrated in this tissue, and the concentration factor from water to fish is exceed more than 103. So, the mercury in water gets enriched in the fish about 103 times. So, the methylating agent by which inorganic mercury is converted to methyl mercury compound is methylcobalamin. This is a vitamin B12 analog, and this is the reaction actually responsible for killing many people in Minamata connected to the fish eating. The same being arsenic, another toxic metal, again capable of forming organometallic compounds. For example, arsenate under reducing conditions pick up electron, get reduced to arsenic 3. Okay. So, compared to arsenic 5, this is arsenic 5, arsenic 3 is more toxic. Okay. Wherever anaerobic condition is there or reducing atmosphere present, the less toxic arsenic 5 is converted into arsenic 3, which is highly toxic. So, not only this, under once this reaction takes place and there is a possibility of methylcobalamin present similar to mercury, what we have seen in the Minamata Bay, and wherever the bottom part methylcobalamin is present, inorganic arsenic is converted into methyl arsenic acid. Okay. And more, there is a possibility of dimethyl also, and if stronger condition, it will be evolved as arsine type of compound, methyl arsine may be evolved. So, if you look at, there are different species available, arsenic inorganic, arsenic 5, arsenic 3, and here there are 3 type of organometallic compound, methyl arsenic acid, dimethyl arsenic acid, and methyl arsine, dimethyl arsine also found. If you see, there are different things, the toxicity varies. Out of this, the highly toxic compound is arsenic 3, whereas the methylated species are relatively less toxic. And in fact, one of the easiest way of remediation is through methylating. Easy source is cow dung. If you add any arsenic sludge or something is there, if you add some cow dung natural way and reducing the toxicity is the inorganic arsenic toxic thing can be reduced to less toxic by adding cow dung. So, this is way of detoxification or minimization. Whereas, if you go back and see in the case of mercury, the methylated mercury are highly toxic compared to the inorganic mercury. The methylated mercury species like monomethyl or dimethyl mercury are more toxic, and that is why responsible for killing many people. So, the species then also very important in the environmental context. So, not only organic and naturally occurring ligand, even inorganic ligands also form complex with the metal ion. One such example is cyanide, and cyanide is widely used in many industries, especially from metal cleaning and electroplating industry. Cyanide is used because cyanide is able to produce well decorated electroplating objects. So, that is the purpose of using cyanide. Of course, because of the toxicity nowadays, it is all banned to use cyanide. This cyanide, after this operation, if it is discharged into the industry and these metal ions are present, they will form complex. Not only from this, even other industries like gas and coke scrubber product effluent also may have cyanide from these industries, coke women, etc. Because of the heating effect, there is a possibility of cyanide may be formed, that is also discharged, whereas in the electroplating industry it is purposely used as a cyanide. And cyanide is also used in certain mineral processing operation, especially gold is extracted. Cyanide is usually used for extracting gold from gold ore. The cyanide ion has a very strong affinity for many metal ions. forming a relatively less toxic ferrocyanide with iron. If it is free ion, it forms the ferrocyanide and with the iron too. Similarly, it forms complex with ferric also. And here I would like to mention the cyanide toxicity. If you have exposed to hemoglobin, it denatures hemoglobin and converts the hemoglobin ion compound into cyanide compound, that is ultimately leading to the death of the human. So, cyanide is very toxic. It should not be used in any industry, but the complex formation may be helpful. But if cyanide is released into the aquatic system without any proper treatment, definitely if human beings, if you are exposed, that is it, because the high complex formation with the hemoglobin kills humans. So, this cyanide should not be used. Similarly, another ligand is ammonia, which is again well complex familiarity of with the copper, silver, nickel, etc. Ammonia forms complex with these type of metal ions, ammonium compound. For example, copper in a octahedral thing with the 4 ammonia and 2 molecules of water. In this tetrahedra, 4 ammonia ligand, whereas water is attached in these 2. And this is one of the important reactions for copper formation. Copper, not only this, because of this, copper is also used to determine spectrophotometrically as a determination method for determining copper. By adding copper, the light blue color forms an intense blue color with the ammonia. That property is used for spectrophotometric determination of copper. And also chloride estimation in a water sample is one of the routine parameter normally tested in laboratory for chloride estimation, and the standard method is Morse method, that is with the silver nitrate as a reagent, because silver chloride can be formed with a chromate indicator. We can locate the endpoint very easily. In this test also, okay, after the test, one of the problem or difficulty encountered is the silver curdy white silver precipitate will be sticking onto this flask whatever you use it for titration. And one of the easy way of cleaning is, if you wash with the water, the silver chloride will not go into solution. But if you add a little bit of ammonia into the flask and if you mix it, definitely you can see the curdy white precipitate of silver chloride will vanish due to the complex formation of silver amine complex. That is water soluble, you can freely wash it with water, whereas silver chloride is sticking onto this vessel, conical flask normally used for titration, that difficulty. Whereas if you add little ammonia, the silver chloride becomes soluble ammonia, forms silver amine complex, that is used for cleaning the purpose. So, copper complex used for estimation of this. So, not only this, variety of compounds, inorganic compounds forms complexes with a ligand that is present in aquatic system, like mercury, the tetrachloromercurate ion simple inorganic ligand is possible. As we discussed in the previous class, hydroxide, carbonate and phosphate also form complexes. So, to summarize, the complex formation of metal ion in aquatic system is very important. This complex formation determines the movement of the metal ions, naturally occurring metal ions, and artificially introduced toxic metal. Everything is determined by this complex formation ability of these metal ions. And naturally in water, water itself acts as a ligand. Some of them they form aqua complexes, remain in solution, and if, as I mentioned before, the oxidation state is very high, like iron aluminum, they will lose proton and becomes hydrolyzed and precipitated as a hydroxide. Iron aluminum, this is what happening in a river system. And also they form complex directly with the hydroxide. Carbonate is also happening in environment. And if suitable condition, anaerobic condition, especially in the bottom part, these metals are present and sulfate ligand is there, that will be reduced to anaerobic condition sulfide, they form insoluble sulfide, everything gets settled as insoluble compound, that is metal hydroxide, metal carbonate, metal sulfide, they are all the major components of sediment fraction. In fact, speciation or special analysis will tell you what is the amount of metal ion associated with the hydroxide, carbonate, and especially sulfide that is possible. Apart from this, there are possibilities of various ligands which are all derived from humic acid and artificially introduced into the aquatic system, like many industry they use cyanide, citrate, EDTA, NTA. So, all this they form either uniligand complexes or chelating, especially chelating complexes also formed with this one, and all these things determine their solubility or deposition in the aquatic system in the bottom part of the sediment, and this is one of the very important along with the pH. Many of these metal ions complex formations is also formed, and the solubility is one of the important part of this complex formation. So, this completes the complex formation of metal ion in aquatic system. The remaining part of the aquatic chemistry we will continue in the next class. Thank you.